Hello everyone, this is Oskar Lagerrosen and I'm the founder of the Total Living. Now I would like to read out loud the 13th blog post in the One Glance article series covering the weekly view and how you place both tasks and projects to it. So let's dive right into it. And for those who are listening on the podcast version, I'll be showing many pictures, but you can find them all in the link in the show notes. So we've now thoroughly covered what tasks and projects are. However, they need to be located in a trusted place that you can regularly update for practical usage. The weekly view is that particular home for novel tasks, not repeated tasks, and projects. The weekly view is an extremely simple to-do list for every day of the week, or at least the days in which you need to do these novel tasks or projects. You can use whatever document and list manager for this, and you can check out part 4 for more detail. And you create a new note document and add the following info. You add, in other words, both the days of the week, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and with the waiting for. But you can also choose to put Monday as the first day and place the waiting for category at the bottom if you want to. And I'm going to come back to why there is a waiting for in the first place. After that, you input all of your tasks and projects to the day you plan to make progress on them. Just like a normal to-do list, you arrange the entries in order from the first activities to last. So you arrange them from the first thing you want to do to the last thing you want to do today and execute them from top to bottom. And later in this video, in this episode, I will show you how to do it. But for now, here's an example of my weekly view and at least how it looked like at the time of this recording. So let's talk about the calendar and the weekly view, because the weekly view is an extension of the calendar. Everything that the calendar itself cannot display properly, the weekly view supports. Everything that, in other words, needs more detailed information and links is located in the weekly view. Thus, you're still operating from your calendar, which informs you when to check the weekly view. And here is an example on how it looks like in practice. You can see the abbreviation WV, which stands for weekly view, in 2 places here. And this tells me that I will check weekly view and execute the tasks during these particular hours. And notice that the gym event and the Christmas meal, Swedish julbord, do not redirect me to weekly view because I already know what to do. In a sense, they are repeated tasks because I'm using the same gym regimen and I am eating. Yeah, I know how to eat by now. And you can add more info for the weekly view blocks, such as, okay, let's do all tasks to a certain task in weekly view or certain tasks only. For instance, like WV prep implies that I will do the assigned tasks that have to do with preparing. So a very loose theme for the entire block. What is apparent is that the calendar can display certain events by itself, for instance, gym, etc., but it cannot display by itself others. Other events that the calendar is enough for are meetings, meals, bedtime, workouts, routines, very simple tasks such as errands, social gathering and events, and travel. And you can always, for each event in calendar, you can attach some information about it, for instance, like meeting points, or use a separate document that you trust. But in general, for those types of events, calendar is very suitable for it. But notice the first event, which is called Ship Blog Post. You can intuitively tell that this instruction is too vague and need further explanation. I mean, what does Ship Blog Post even mean and how does it look like? In other words, if the event is unclear, then you will check the weekly view by default. but it's kind of like an advanced thing. So in the beginning, you can be very clear and type WV or weekly view ship blog post to make sure that you're entering the weekly view. You have the permission to do that according to your calendar, and then working on that project alone. So the key takeaway here is that you're not working from the weekly view alone. The weekly view is just a second layer to the calendar. Imagine that you're looking through a map and then you click on a particular place and then come to the website. This is what the weekly view is like. You check it only when the calendar tells you to do so. And there's a reason for that. Because prolific authors such as Cal Newport in the book Deep Work and Nir Eyal in the book Indistractable argue that there are significant harms of working from a simple to-do list alone. Using a list of everything you have to do, and next action list for that matter, if you are using GTD terms, you have to constantly decide when to do the tasks, when not to do the tasks, and whenever you're done. This reactive list method, as Cal Newport calls it, leads to the dreaded feeling that you are not done, no matter how much you work, that the to-do list is constantly tormenting you. Say like, okay, why are you not doing this? Why not now? Etc. Ad nauseum. Thus, you become very easily subject to workaholism and procrastination is the other extreme, and anxiety. 3 not so very good phenomena. But at the same time, you cannot merely use the calendar alone. You need to execute many tasks and projects during the day, and these can change very rapidly. Both David Allen from Getting Things Done and Tiago Forte from Building a Second Brain and Forte Labs argue that priorities and tasks can change extremely often throughout the day. And they are absolutely right, because you know that it only takes one phone call, one piece of news, one message from the boss, and one insight to change your entire plan and whatever you need to do. And thus you need a simple adaptive system like a to-do list or task manager, according to David Allen and Tiago Forte. So therefore, we are presented with 2 different schools of thought, 2 dichotomies in the productivity world. So you have either calendar first or to-do list first. Either primarily looking at your calendar and occasionally use to-do list, or primarily look at the to-do list and occasionally look at the calendar. So as you can see, both of them have their distinctive pros and cons. Either follow an intended plan or quickly adjust but decide every time at the moment based on several priorities such as time, energy, context, etc. So I have tried both these approaches to productivity for 2 years now. And I am painfully aware of both advantages and disadvantages on one hand and vice versa on the other. So I have come up with a solution to this, according to me, heartbreaking conflict. And it is this: use both the calendar and the to-do list together. They complement each other in a synergistic manner, because now you have all the pieces of the puzzle. By operating mainly from the calendar and going 1 layer deeper to the weekly view when it's time, you can still decide when to do what and have the freedom to adjust the tasks on the fly. So in other words, you get the best of both worlds: the clear separation from work and non-work, and between activities and other activities in general, and the freedom to change priorities. For instance, if there is a phone call, to say the least, and then you can just quickly, okay, drag this to do, drag it another, but it's still in the same context. So it doesn't really apply for the entire day unless you need to reschedule something. By planning the context on the calendar and executing the tasks in the weekly view, you can still be very flexible with the task and have peace of mind all the time, which according to me is a true win-win deal. So how do you actually input tasks and projects in weekly view? Because in order to put tasks and project correctly, I advise you to take the following questions in order. Number one, why am I doing it? Because more tasks are not necessarily better, so you should be aware of why you won't need to do it. You do not need to write anything down, but just have the thought. Number two, can I finish this in one session? And if yes on that question, it is a task. And if no, it is a project. Third question, does this project require multiple resources to keep track of? And you only answer that if you answer no in the previous question, so if it's a project. And if it's yes, you will later create a project page, just like you did in the previous video. And if not, you will have a much simpler time in terms of input, stuff like that. Question number 4. When is the latest possible deadline for it to be finished? I.e., how long can you wait until you really, really need to get it done? If it's during one day of the current week, you go to that headline. For instance, if it's Friday, you go to Friday. If the latest possible deadline is in the upcoming weeks, you input it in the longer view. And the longer view is also very simple. This when you name the weeks instead of days as headlines. For instance, like week 47, week 48, week 49, etc., and put them there. And like when the weekly view is over, then you basically input from the longer view to the weekly view. And I will come back to it in later videos and episodes. And also next week, we'll cover the importance of doing things as late as possible, contrary to established practice. So this will be fun. 5th question, what is the desired outcome? And just like in the previous video and episode, you write what is true when it's finished. However, you only need to do it for projects that require a project page, because otherwise it's like too much, too redundant. It's enough so you can already figure out. But for more larger ones, it's very beneficial to know exactly what you're going for. And it is here that you create a new project page that links to the weekly review. And I'll come back to it later in this video, so don't worry. 6th question, what is the very next action? In other words, what would I see you do if you had nothing else to do apart from making project on this thing? And whatever you come up with, you write it down on the particular task, on the particular day rather, if it's a task. If it's a project without a project page, you type in bold first the project name, and then directly below the next action. If it is a project with a project page, you type in the next action in the project page, and see the previous video episode for details. So now we have the 7th and last question. When do the actions occur? And this question is only applicable for projects, not for tasks, because task is by definition only included in one session, as you can remember. And it is here that you decide which days and sessions you're going to come back to that thing. If the project has a project page, you mark the details in the project page if you need to, and just input the project page link in the particular days. And I am aware that it was a lot to take in at once. So rest assured, after some initial practice, it will become second nature. And below are 3 real case examples on how it looks like in practice. And we're going to do some role play here, so you know exactly how it looks, sound, and feel like. So what I'm going to do now is I will show 3 different scenarios that are based in real life and can happen for every one of us. And I will first say a question, and then I'm going to think out loud, so to speak, how I would think, or how anyone would think in this scenario. So it's still like a role play. So then you will hear like, okay, this is what the question implies, and this could mean that in that scenario, etc. So I hope it will be more clearer when we have done these 3 different case examples. So the first one is filling out the form. Imagine that you are at your work, and you have a form that you need to sign in for your work. And these are the questions, and I'm going to say the thought process as the response. So why am I doing it? Yeah, I am required to do it for my job and will face consequences from the admin team if I do not do it. Can I finish this in one session? Yes, of course. I just spend some minutes, maybe 10 minutes a quarter, etc. And then it will be done. But it's quite boring, but I have other important things to do. Third question, when is the latest possible deadline for it to be finished? And yeah, the admin team has nagged for a while now that it has to be done this Friday. So I guess I have to do it then. So let's say Friday. So then comes to the last question for tasks. What is the very next action? And yeah, I guess it's just writing it, but oh yeah, I forgot I need to open the file first. And by the way, I guess I have not downloaded it yet, but the admin team has emailed me a link multiple times. And then I should first find the email, then click the link, download it, fill the form in, send it to Mrs. X, and then I'm done. And maybe if you can just like do it now, it's also simple over a note. Oh, sorry. I was supposed to do it this Friday. So let us input it in the weekly view instead. And as you can see, you will see on the Friday, you can see the exact next action. Go to the email inbox and search after the link that Mrs. X provided. Then download the form, fill in according to instructions, then send back the filled form to Mrs. X. So then we have the second example. Now we're in a different role play, so you know what's going on. And this one is it's a simple project without the project page, and it's about answering an important email. Imagine that you got a very important email from your biggest client and have 24 hours to respond. The client in this case wants to make an exception to an important deal you're making, and you're not sure if the exception is benefiting you or not in the negotiations, because you're trying to come up with a very lucrative deal for both of you. It involves a lot of money, so it's a lot of stakes here. So you see the context, you can imagine it. And the request that the client just gave requires a more careful and thoughtful response, because you want to ensure that you're acting in your company's best interest. So you're not facing any dire consequences by doing the wrong thing in the more negotiator role. And therefore you would like to spend more time with than usual. So once again, I will first say the questions, and then I'm going to imagine myself in that situation and ramble on. So first question, why am I doing it? And yeah, it's kind of like a no-brainer. It's very important for both the company and for my career. So yeah, I really have to do it. No questions asked. Second question, can I finish this in one session? Not really. I want to make sure that I looked into our policies and plans first, so I do not say something out of the blue. And my day is jam-packed as well, so I don't have time to do all of it today. I also want a second opinion from my dear colleague, Susan, and I'm sure she will respond until tomorrow. But fortunately, it seems like the client does not need a response right away, at least that we had the rule of doing a 24-hour responses. So I can finish the response tomorrow. So it's not really that in crisis mode, which is good. Third question, does this project require multiple resources to keep track of? And I don't really think so, actually. It's just a simple note on everything I could find in our documents, plus the response from Susan that will get it. It's just an email after all, and it's not a memo or proposal or anything. So let's keep it simple. No project page, in other words. When is the latest possible deadline for it to be finished? And it is tomorrow, Tuesday. We can imagine that it's Monday right now, and it's a Tuesday, because otherwise the client might get antsy and maybe threat to leave us for one of our competitors, and it will not be good at all. So let's say the deadline for it will be Tuesday. What is the desired outcome? So the desired outcome is that the email is sent with a well thought out answer on whether we can accept it, decline the exception, or negotiate further. And I guess I do not need to write it this time because it's rather self-evident if it's a smaller project. Then we have the 6th question. What is the very next action? So let's see, I have to check both policy X and policy Y. And after that, I need to email Suzanne. And when I checked both policies and received the answer, I now have a better understanding and can craft the email tomorrow. Oh, I need to find our policies in our intranet in location Z. You know what? Maybe I should forward the email to Susan first and then visit location Z and read through both policy X and Y and take some notes on what I can find. That looks good. And the last question, when do the actions occur? Oh no, I need to enter another meeting in 20 minutes and I still got other important tasks to do all these questions with. I guess I have to split it today. First forward the email, then later today find the policies. And after receiving a response from Susan latest tomorrow, I can craft the email first thing tomorrow morning. So perfect. So then your weekly review will look like this. On Monday, that is today, you first respond to client by forward the latest client email to Susan and ask what it means for us and how we should respond to it. And later in the day, you go to the intranet, go to location Z, and first skim through policy X and take notes, and then skim through policy Y and take notes. And tomorrow, in this case, Tuesday, you open up the email inbox and the notes from yesterday, and you write the email based on what you got and what you're informed with. And as you can see, both title in bold, respond to client are still showing up in order to make sure that, okay, it's the same thing. So these tasks are like correlated. And after you forward the email, it looks like this. So this is why you need to use the waiting for, because now you can say like, okay, what am I waiting for? Oh yeah, it's Susan. And I can remind her tomorrow morning if no response. So it's very, very handy, especially if you are more in, what can you say, a boss position, a manager position, or a senior executive position, because then you might have staff or people below you that are working through the tasks that you delegated to them. So then it's very important to make sure that, okay, person X is doing that for me and person Y is doing that as well, and basically keep track of what you're waiting for, basically. So this was the second example, and you will remove the entry from waiting list as soon as Susan responds. So it's like a basic reminder, like, okay, I have something to wait for. Then we have the third example. So let's do a complete other scenario. So yeah, it's more of a role play thing, but it's just to give you more examples so you really know how it looks like in practice, because it's quite natural overall. So example 3, finish an individual assignment. And it's a regular project with the project page. So imagine you're in university and are tasked to write 6 pages about topic X, could be whatever. The deadline is next week, and you need to make a good argument based on several sources. And I'm going to say the question and also make the thought process more explicit. So why am I doing it? I do not want to receive a failed grade, right? Number 2, can I finish in one session? Are you joking? I need to read X numbers of papers first, think about it a little, write many times, and then edit for I don't know how many times. I need multiple sessions for that. Third question, does this project require multiple resources to keep track of? Yes. I need both the links for the paper, the instructions, plus my own notes and the outline. So I guess I need a project page for it. And it's only when you need to, by the way, that you would use the project page, because it's another page and it's not really as smooth as doing the task. So for these more larger ones, and it could be for the proposals and other kinds of reports too, that you use project pages. And when is the latest possible deadline for it to be finished? The deadline is Thursday next week in this case. So I guess that it is the deadline. So therefore, I need to link a new project page to the longer view, which you can see here, because the deadline is not this week, it is next week. So therefore, we put it on the next week, the deadline. And in mem.ai, you just type a plus sign and then type the name. For instance, finish individual assignment, and then the page will be created, and you can basically click on it afterwards. And if you're using other tools, there are other kinds of solutions. A lot of it is plus sign, but it could also be the @ sign. It could also be two clamors or whatever. There are many. They have their own solution on how to input these links. So I'll advise you to Google how it fits in your case if you're not using mem.ai. But of course, you can raise a question and I'll answer it on Friday. Ask me anything, because just a little announcement. Fridays in general will be more ask me anything type, because I know that you have a lot of questions right now since you have come through so many videos. And I want to give you the opportunity to make sure to raise a question that I can answer every Friday. So I'm going to link in the show notes and description the survey that you can, and it's a very quick one. It just takes like 20 seconds to 1 minute to just type in a simple question, and then I will be sure to respond to that during the upcoming Fridays. Anyway, back to the role play, because we still need the fourth question, or rather the fifth question, because you can see that we already put in the deadline in the next week. So then we can ask, what is the desired outcome? The desired outcome is, as you can see here on the project page, that the 6-pager is done with good referencing and use of the sources. It has a great narrative and logical arguments and conclusions. The text also looks polished and sharp. So this is like, okay, this is what we're going for here. And then we have the second last question. What is the very next action? And yeah, there's a lot of them. But fortunately, we can update over time in this document. But I guess we first have to read the papers and take good notes first. And oh yeah, we forgot to download the papers. So what we need to do is, as you can see here, first visit the school intranet and download the papers, upload them there. Then read the papers and take notes in a separate document for that. And after you read this, it could be many papers, so it could take a while. Then you outline based on your notes in a particular outline page. Then you create a document and start free flow writing based on the outline. And after that, you edit the document both by reading through and using software like Grammarly. And then you input all the references in either Citus form or Citavi or EndNote or whatever you want to use, and copy to the document the references. And after that, you create a front page, because you're in university, so it will be much better to have that, and merge together the document. And before you send in, you read through the entire thing just to make sure that there are no obvious things that you haven't missed, and then send in via the school intranet. So that is the next actions, you can say. And you can also see the resources or links, such as like the papers and the notes, stuff like that. But the question is, when do the actions occur? And you have to imagine back in the scenario, the deadline is next week. So I think I have to make progress every day on it, since the deadline is so soon, and the university has decided for some reason that it has to be that soon. And you can have opinions about that. Therefore, I need to allocate time every day to make steady progress. So as you can see, at the time of this role play, it was Wednesday. So for both Wednesday, Tuesday, Friday, not Saturday, because you want some breathing room after all, you're inputting and working on the finished individual assignment. Notice that there's only the hyperlink that is there, not other kinds of actions, because you can click on it and then you get to whatever you need to go. Because the reason why we want to use the project page is because, yeah, you not want to think about other tasks than whatever you need to do there. So it's more like filtering, so you can like be one with your task if that didn't sound too deep, so to speak. So that is basically 3 examples, 3 live cases, and I know that these ones are very present in our modern economy and the university and stuff like that, and they could be many for all different scenarios of life. So this is just an example to see, like, okay, this is how a task looks like in the real world, this is how a project looks like in real world, regardless of if it requires a page or not. So then we need to ask ourselves, when is the best time to input, adjust, and remove the tasks if you're finished or not finished or want to move later? So by now, I hope to receive a better understanding of using the weekly view. It is a powerful tool combined with the calendar to ensure that all your tasks and projects are on track. And you will, in general, be handling like tasks 90% of the time, so you don't need to answer all questions. Just follow the example the first example that I gave, and you'll be good to go. It's very fast when you get the hang of it. So when do you input? You can input a new event whenever you feel like you have to. For instance, like the client example, it was quite a big one, so you felt like, okay, I need to take it and make sure to track it in a good way. But you must at least once a day do a daily review to make sure that your weekly view is current and complete. That's very important. Adjusting the tasks and project is very easy. Just copy and paste. Or if you're using, for instance, Notion, you can drag the individual text lines to other places. So it's very easy, and that is actually encouraged because, as I previously said, the priorities might shift within the day. So you can say, okay, I drag this task to this day, and that's it. No biggies there, so to speak. So when you're finished with a particular task and project for the day, you delete the entries and then the days. So if you want to go back to my very own example, my very own weekly view, you can see here that it is only starting from the Wednesday and Thursday, because at the time when I'm recording this video, recording this episode, it's Wednesday. So like once I'm done in particular, I just remove it very easily. And then you basically churn down to the weekend and then repeat the cycle every week. Tomorrow's post and tomorrow's video and episode will tell you more about the daily update. It's very, very, very important to do so, and it's quite fast when you know what to do. It's basically inputting all these questions once a day to make sure that everything is functioning. And I will come back more on it tomorrow. But if you like this video, episode, and article series for that matter, and wish that your friends could live a stress-free and insanely productive life as well, please share it. Also, do not forget to both subscribe to the newsletter on the website, to the YouTube channel, and to the podcast. And if you're watching this if you're listening to Apple Podcasts, you have the option to leave a 5-star review if you want. If you feel like it deserves a 5-star review, then you can, of course, put it there, and it will be highly appreciated. So, and with that, I want to say thank you very much for your attention, and have a very nice day. See you in the next one.